Hi everyone, welcome to the All Women Recovery Podcast. My name is Eileen Foley and I am a drug and alcohol counsellor in Co Kerry in Ireland.
And good morning, I'm Claire Keeney and I'm a certified transformational life coach, and I focus on working with people who have addictive personalities both in and out of recovery. And I live in Bristol, England.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking a little bit around anxiety and fear. So I suppose at the time of recording this video, the world is going through the coronavirus pandemic. So there's a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety in the world, and people are scared. So in today's podcast, we really want to maybe support people with that and help them manage that fear. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about our responses to fear firstly, Claire, and then maybe maybe give some tips on how people can just manage that fear.
Right. Give them some tools to use so that when by the end of the call they can, I can do this today.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to talk a little bit about our responses to fear, or how people respond to fear firstly, and then the bigger part of the podcast will be about how to manage the fear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are normally four responses to fear and anxiety, and one is there's the fight, flight, freeze, and the faint. And the fight is really quite self-explanatory. We just go into, you want to be angry because you're really powerless. You're powerless over this, and can be a reaction of, I just got to fight. The downside of this is that if you're in a confined environment, say with your family, you can start conflict in the house, and there can be a conflict, and you can start arguing. Anything can happen when you're in that place. The flight is that response is, I just want to get out of here. I don't want to deal with this. Just get me away. I want to walk out. And you could just storm out the door and just disappear.
Yeah.
The freeze is really just where you can the body just kind of seizes up. You stop breathing properly. You just sort of you just don't know what to do. You can't think straight. You don't know. You're just frozen. And the faint is really where you just zone out. You're not really present. You're just not really present to what's going on. And we can all have, primarily there can be a time when we may have one response that's more, that comes to us more than the other three, but we can have all four as well. There's no, we don't fall into any category.
Yeah, and it can change depending on the circumstances. And I suppose we're seeing that in the world and people at the minute, that people's responses to what's going on around them is really, depending on the situation that's happening. So whether they're out in public, or whether they're in the grocery shop, whether they're at home, they can be responding, have any one of those different responses throughout the day, in fact. So I suppose
very much so.
Yeah. So I suppose the big thing is that we want to maybe help people to manage those responses and manage that fear and manage that anxiety. And I suppose the big thing with anxiety is, the fear of what might happen, that perceived threat.
The perceived threat, yeah. We go into the future. We assume the worst. And for myself, I can tend to go into freeze more than anything else. And my breathing can get very shallow, and it's like, I just don't want to deal with this. And so my way to combat that is just disrupted, is I have to start moving.
Yes.
I literally have to start moving. I have to start taking deep breaths, or I just have to start getting out the door and moving around, or wiggle my fingers, or wiggle. You've got to move the body, just moving that body. And that's what I have to do.
And that's important because fear can lodge in the body, and usually with anxiety and fear, it lodges in our kidneys. So people might be starting to feel pain in their kidneys, when they're fearful or when they're anxious. And it is about, it's a pent up energy, and that energy lodges in the body. So by creating that movement, as you say, wiggling the feet and the toes, jumping up and down, doing jumping jacks, going for a walk, going for a run, anything that can free up that energy to get it moving, to get it flowing through the body. Because at the end of the day, fear, it's just it's an emotion, it's a feeling, it's, you know, it's a sensation in the body, and you can disrupt that, you know, by moving.
Mm-hmm. And you can disrupt it also. You can open the door and you can just scream out the window.
Yeah. Sound is good too.
Yeah. As opposed to screaming at somebody else, just scream, open the window and scream outside.
Yeah.
You have to let something out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we contract when we go into fear. We just contract.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one really good way that people can kind of cope with maybe the fear that's going on at the moment, or if, you know, in general, not just around the situation of the coronavirus, but just in general, that movement is good. Okay. So the next thing then as well with fear and anxiety is that the breath can get really shallow. So, and it can kind of come from, if you can see in the video, from here. So when we're anxious, we breathe as far as here, and, you know, that kind of creates a sensation in our body as well. So for me, my breath definitely, when I get anxious, my breath definitely goes. So I find those deep abdominal breaths are really good. So that's really where you are breathing right down into the bottom of your tummy. So your tummy is actually expanding and contracting when you breathe, rather than your chest area. And another thing that does as well is it brings you out of your head, because when you're in your head and that anxiety, those anxious thoughts are happening, you're in your head, and it brings you out of your head down into your body. Now, I always say to people that when you're doing that breathing, that abdominal breathing, which we should be doing all the time anyway, but that you, when you start doing it, to make sure you're sitting down, because you can kind of, if you're not used to it,
Mm-hmm.
get quite lightheaded
Right.
and dizzy. So I say just sit down, or even lie down if you're starting to do it, until you get more used to it.
Right. In fact, one of the things I do every morning is I spend half an hour doing breathing exercises. Mm-hmm. They're specific, as you just outlined, Eileen. It's the abdomen, it's the solar plexus, but it's up here where we don't breathe properly. Yeah. And this is where it can all get stuck. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy to breathe up here, but a way to do it is if you literally put your hands on your upper chest here, and make a point of just lying down on the floor and really just breathing in and noticing the upper chest go up and down, you know, and doing that really slowly, because it's important to get the breath in your body, mm-hmm. all through your body.
All through your body, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I suppose even when you are doing the breathing exercise, I'm just there now recognizing that there's a bit of tension in my shoulders, and you kind of shake out the shoulders again. So you're combining the movement and the breathing. So you're relaxing the whole body. We can carry stress and tension and anxiety here in our shoulders, our jawline. So it's about relaxing those, you know, shaking off the hands, getting that movement going, getting that breath going, so that you're really connecting with the moment, I suppose. And that kind of brings us on to the next point, is that because of anxiety and because of fear, it's a fear of a perceived threat, we can live in the future. We can live in the what ifs, what if this happens. So it's about bringing, you know, your thinking back into the present moment, practicing mindfulness. And a great way to do that is to maybe look around you and list a couple of things that you can see, maybe list a few things that you can hear, list something that you can smell, that you're bringing yourself back into the moment.
Very much so. And I remember years ago when I was very early in recovery, there was a gentleman I used to know. We used to say, well, how do you stay in the present moment? Because, you know, we're either in the past or we're in the future. It's such a challenge to stay in the moment. How do you stay in the now? And he used to give this great example. He said, now I'm tapping my head. Now I'm tapping my head. And it seems so simple. And the other one was, now I'm brushing my teeth. Now I'm brushing my teeth. Yeah, and it's just keeping it into what you're doing right here, right now.
Right now. And I suppose that kind of leads us on then as well to our final point, having an attitude of gratitude. And I suppose when life gets challenging and, you know, there's a lot of upset or hurt or whatever going on, that, you know, we might lose sight of what we need to be grateful for. And I suppose just before we recorded the video, you made a very good point, Claire, that we have breath in our body and we need to be grateful for that. And, you know, even to do something like a gratitude list, or, you know, just writing it down somewhere, and that when times get tough or when, you know, that anxiety might be triggered or whatever, that you're kind of looking at that list and maybe adding one or two things to it every day, or when you get up in the morning that you say, today I'm grateful that I have today. So it's about connecting with, you know, the things that we do have, rather than at the moment, or that we don't have X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we can be grateful for, I had a bed to sleep in. I have a bed I'm waking up in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm grateful I have food in the fridge. I'm grateful I have a roof over my head. It's the simple things. It's just the simple things. Yeah.
And I suppose the last couple of months, or the last couple of weeks, if that has taught the world anything, it's definitely that people are returning back to the simple things in life.
Right.
That we're connecting with family, people are connecting with nature. So that's another great way of managing anxiety, even if it's just going out and pruning the roses, or pruning the hedge, or whatever it may be, that, you know, people are starting to connect with nature again and starting to slow down. Because I suppose anxiety and fear, it's really fast thoughts, fast movements. So it's about reversing that and slowing down, and taking the steps to maybe slow down a little bit, to give your head a break and give your body a break.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing we haven't mentioned that I think is also a good anecdote to bring in is humor. Watch a funny movie. Look for jokes. I mean, laughing is a great antidote to fear as well. Yeah. You know,
absolutely,
we can tend to lose a sense of humor when we're in fear and anxiety.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And that, you know, and again, to watch those movies or read something funny with family, or with, you know, that, you know, you're doing that and you're connecting with the people around you as well. And that, because laughter spreads, you know, if
very much so.
Laughter spreads, or smiling spreads. That if you smile at someone, more often than not, they'll smile back at you when maybe they mightn't have felt like smiling. So it can be infectious. So it's about spreading that as well. So I suppose.
And I also think another thing to do is, when we're in that fear and anxiety, we're very self-absorbed. We're very self-obsessed. It's all about me, me, me. And I think another great disruptor of it is to, you know, if you're able to go and see a neighbor or see someone and ask them if they need some help. Is there something you can do to be of service?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think we've given some lovely pointers there to people. So I hope they help, and that, you know, it may alleviate some of the fear and some of the anxiety that people have in life in general. So I think, Claire, you have maybe a couple of questions that you wanted to get people to maybe write about or start pondering about.
Well, we've actually really touched it already, because I think this is a fabulous time for it, either at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, is to do the gratitude list. Write 10 things you're grateful for today. And we talked about, you know, it can be as simple as having food. Well, actually, a lot of people don't have food in the fridge, so it's not that simple. I have hot and running cold water. You know, I think that's a fabulous way. Who am I checking in with today? Who am I checking up on?
So connecting with people.
Connecting with people. And am I going outside today in nature?
Okay. So connecting with people, connecting with nature, and having an attitude of gratitude. If we could leave people with those 3 things, to ponder those 3 things, and, you know, maybe write about them, or, you know, talk to other people about them, that it will hopefully alleviate some of that fear and anxiety that people can have.
Yeah, because the truth is, this too shall pass.
Yeah, everything passes.
This too shall pass.
Yeah. Okay, so are we okay to leave it there, Claire? Is there anything else you want to add?
I think so. I think we talked good about. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have. Okay, so folks, so that's it. So today's topic was fear and anxiety. We hope you've had some good tips on maybe how to manage it and understand it, and then manage it. So until next time, take care.
Okay, and bye from Claire.
Bye.
Bye.